Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is Tuesday, August 11th. I had this video done. We get into this thing that Rob Schneider, Duece Bigalow, was going after Candace Owens, but then slammed all the people that basically believe in, don't believe in the official story of TPUS gay and all that stuff, like the cunt he is. And I go in after him quite a bit. And TPUS gay stuff, it's all falling apart. And so the video was completely done, had done a voiceover, was about to render it and put it up for tomorrow. This video was going up tomorrow night. But then my wife and I were watching TV and she dozed off. And I went to see if there's anything worth recording on, what is it, DirecTV. And CNN was on. And there was a blurb on the bottom that said, Trump hid in a catering truck.
Shh, they're looking for me. Gotta stay quiet in here. Shh, they're looking for me.
Okay, so what happened was Trump, there's a very distinctive Trump voice whenever it's AI. It sounds like Trump, but not quite, right? Like AI is still very limited. I mean, AI is not, but there was a threat against Trump's plane, right? And Trump, so they came up with a strategy that they would put Trump on the Air Force One, the second one. Remember he didn't go get on the one that he got from Qatar, like that plane. And he got in his old Air Force One. And then they snuck him off in a catering truck because the threat was against the plane. And everyone on the plane, Secret Service, the pilots, military personnel, and all the media that follows him around didn't know the plane was being used as a decoy. Then they put him in another catering truck or they brought the catering truck over and put him on the smaller plane, like a little fucking cowering bitch. And so if that plane had been struck by a missile or bomb or something and all those people went down and died and Trump snuck off and didn't let them know, like they were a decoy. They were all set up for a fucking risk. And I mean, what an absolute pussy. This is the guy that did that. See, this shows you what kind of a pussy he is. And I talked about this when he did fight. And that he would be okay with risking all those people. And then he commented on it. So let me go. I've seen a few clips, but the best one's the Aaron Burnett one, which isn't up on YouTube yet. I'm going to go pull it off my TV. I don't think they'll put it up because they've already put up a few more on CNN. But they didn't have as much information then. And this is fucking brutal. Like, what a cowering little bitch, right?
Breaking news, we have new details about Trump's secret plane switch as he was facing what was perceived by U.S. intelligence to be an imminent threat, as the White House and administration face a multitude of questions about how they handled the scheme.
Mr. Secretary, did you put Americans at risk by having them fly in Air Force One when it was under threat? How persistent is that threat to the president?
Holy shit, Marco Polo Rubio. Fucking no answer for this. There's no shame anymore. This is humiliating and embarrassing on every level. Again, it's going to get worse. Just from what you've heard. But when you see the details, it's even more fucked. And there's nothing to say about this. And there's a lot here. A lot of fucking humiliation.
The smile and walk away. A U.S. official tells CNN that after boarding Air Force One in front of the camera so everybody could see him do it, Trump then secretly hid inside a catering truck next to the plane. And then that catering truck wheeled him over to another plane, a smaller plane. And that's how he left Turkey.
So you remember this was Trump's big moment that he never talks about, never brags about, even though this showed him like being manly when this fake fucking, WWE style assassination attempt happened. I said, he's a pussy. Because when this happened before, and I'm not some big macho, like, I don't give a shit. Like, yes, protect yourself, right? I don't care about any of that shit. But the people that like Trump, and Trump himself has pushed this narrative. And this was fake as fuck. The other time that he was threatened, he cowered on stage. He was like all weird about it. I've shown you that video. But here, let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head. It's bloody. So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay, my shoes. Watch out.
Fight. 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 Like, that was totally I mean, look at these guys. Now they were going to protect his head. They let him expose his head. Yeah, they don't let you fucking get your shoes. They just whisk you the fuck off, right? They get you out. Like, there's no sense of, like, letting you pop your head up. And then Trump doing that multiple times. And this guy's all these fake fucks up here. Fight, 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 doing that. These gay-ass punches. Like, that stuff, remember? Like, it was so fucking fake. Like, you see how fucking fake this is? I knew, like, the minute it happened, I'm like, oh, this is fake as fuck. And then when he went to get in his car, he did it again one last time. So this one, there he does it again. Like, they're letting him put his head up. There could be another shooter in the audience. He almost punched that girl in the head. Like, he's trying to, I mean, fucking, he's totally not a tough guy. Look at him. I mean, so many times his head pops out. And then they let him walk up here to the car. And it's fake as fuck. And then, like, all these people are throwing up the devil's horns and, whatever fucking else they're doing. Like, it's fucking retarded. And then they see his head there again. And then they let him, he puts his fist up in the air. And he does it again right here. Boom. Fight, fight, fight. Then they push him into the car. Which shouldn't have. That was the worst execution of a walkaway. They should have cleared the crowd and covered him. I mean, there's so many mistakes here, right? So I searched Twitter for that video. I had it bookmarked, and I didn't know if I found it eventually. I have 3 copies of it that are bookmarked. Hide, hide, hide. Camera into the tray, and then peeking out. That's what Twitter showed when I said fight, fight, fight. That's what Twitter gave. They're already sitting in on this little fucking pussy in his cowardly ways.
Now, you can see the reporters boarding Air Force One. They did not know there was an imminent threat to any plane that Trump was on. They certainly didn't know that Trump was then removed from the plane without anybody who was going to instigate the threat, knowing that he was removed from the plane. And nobody knew any of this. So they were on a decoy plane under supposedly imminent threat. Kevin Liptak is out front with everything we know about how the ruse was pulled off.
At 7:54 p.m., preparations get underway at the Ankara airport to execute the subterfuge. You can see in this video, airport catering trucks begin getting into position at the side of the blue and white Legacy Air Force One that Trump said he was using to return to Washington.
So there are going to be multiple lies. But the first part about this is supposed to be coming from Iran. Or maybe it's coming from Israel. He's scared Israel. But he said over and over again, Iran doesn't have dick anymore. They have nothing. They've taken away all their weapons, so they can't do shit. But he was scared shitless enough to hide in a fucking catering truck twice and then put all these other people's lives at risk. So he has 2 Air Force Ones, 2 private jets. He thinks that whoever's threatening him can get to those jets, either through, I would assume, some kind of a missile, because they're not thinking that the bomb's already on the plane. I mean, there's no way that they would have. I mean, they don't let a bomb cannot get on Air Force One. That would be completely fucked. But then some kind of missile going over these European countries, and it could take Air Force One out of the sky. So he thinks that they must have these weapons and could use them, and so he's running around like a little bitch, hiding in fucking carts and shit, scared of Iran. Like, he can say all this shit and talk tough about Iran, but he, you just shouldn't go out like this. He's also the commander-in-chief. Like, so these are 2 storylines. Like, he's, again, I don't care if you're a tough guy, and if somebody's threatening you, don't get on a plane or whatever. Don't go there. I mean, I'm all for it. Like, there's no, but all this subterfuge that they're talking about, all this fucking lying to everybody, sneaking around, hiding and fucking cowering and like a little cunt. And then, and putting other people's lives at risk. And you're the commander-in-chief? Like, you can't do that shit. Like, these people expect you to be, your life's at risk of being president. And, like, this is the guy who said fight, fight, fight. Of course it isn't. That was all fucking fake and staged. This is who he really is. Right?
At 8:24 p.m., Trump's motorcade arrives to the tarmac. As it speeds towards Air Force One, another smaller plane, a C-32A, is parked nearby. This shot is the best vantage of how the 2 planes are positioned on the tarmac. As the motorcade rounds the corner, you can see the 2 catering trucks at the side of the jumbo jet lifted up on hydraulics to doors on the right side of the plane. A few minutes later, Trump climbs the staircase and waves before entering his cabin. You can see the catering truck right right there beneath the fuselage. At the back of the plane, reporters and staff line up to get on board. Once they're in their seats, the Secret Service tells them to keep their window shades down. Agents even come to the cabin, which faces out toward the smaller C-32A, to make sure all the shades are lowered. And this is when the shell game begins. A U.S. official says Trump was whisked off the plane and into a waiting catering truck. At 8:28 p.m., you can see a man in a suit climbing into the truck's cab. The container is lowered and the truck pulls out a minute later. The truck drives away from the bigger plane across the tarmac and pulls up to the C-32A. By zooming in, you can see it right there behind the engines. A person in a suit steps out of the cab, walks to the stairs, and gets on board. The bigger plane, now without the president on board, takes off at 8:44 p.m., passing right past the smaller plane with Trump inside. The smaller plane taxis away a minute later.
So holy shit, right? He's sneaking around, gets on the plane like he's going on the plane, sneaks off the plane. I mean, what the fuck? You know, you're not like running away from some superpower, right? A country that you just fucking beat and handed their ass to, according to you, that they have nothing left, that they have to shoot BB guns at people and corporations. What's he going to shoot BB guns at you? I guess that comes later on in this video. Maybe he's going to talk about BB guns later on in this video. That the Iranians, they got BB guns? Because we've taken everything else away from them. And he's around there cowering in the fucking the catering truck, getting on and off, fucking planes running around, putting other people at risk.
As for the third plane, the Boeing 747 donated by Qatar, which Trump has been using in the U.S. and actually flew to Turkey on, it departed a few hours earlier, which can be seen here with the other two planes. Trump claimed at the time he wanted to show it off to troops in England.
Remember when he said that? So he's lying to you because, you know, if there's any credible threat, the people making the threat would know that's bullshit. They know that he knows about a threat. And so they, you know, maybe they back off, whatever. So there's no reason to lie about that because, you know, it's not like they're going to believe, hey, I guess he's just not taking that plane. He wants to show the plane off to the trees. He doesn't give a shit about a bunch of grunts on some bear base in fucking England that he wants everyone to see his beautiful plane. He wants those dirties to come in and out of his plane, right? Not that elitist piece of shit. Like, so the lies are mounting up here. And there's no reason to lie about it because the reality is they would already know when he didn't get on the plane that he knew about the threat. I mean, they're going to know. And if it's Israel that's really making the threat, then of course they're going to know because they got spies at every level of the American government.
Flight tracking data shows that former Qatari jet landed at Mildenhall Air Force Base in the United Kingdom at 6:26 p.m. local time. It bore the call sign SAM-33, short for Special Air Mission. 40 minutes later, the legacy Air Force One plane, the blue and white one, appears on radar near Istanbul with no call sign. Tracking data shows that as it flies over Romania, the plane begins using the call sign AF1 for Air Force One, though the president was not on board. It lands at Mildenhall at around 10:29 p.m. local time.
Okay, so they didn't have to tell them this was Air Force One. Like, the only reason to do that is they wanted to make sure that if anything happened, it happened to that plane and not Trump's, which is fucked because Trump had all these people on board, people that worked for him, you know, all the reporters, I mean, all of it. Right, so they're saying, hey, look, it's Air Force One. It's a decoy plane. Unbelievable cowardice.
The smaller plane, the one Trump is actually on, doesn't show up on publicly available flight trackers, but video from YouTube shows it landing at Mildenhall at around the same time as the bigger plane. We don't know exactly how Trump moved from the smaller plane to the bigger one, but it took about 20 minutes for reporters to get off the plane once it had touched down. Plenty of time for President Trump to sneak back on board.
We're going to play that again, to sneak back on board. So they had to clear off the real Air Force One and somehow sneak Trump on the plane so he could get off the plane. You're going to see that. But this guy uses the word sneak, and he was sneaking. He was a fucking sneaker.
Plenty of time for President Trump to sneak back on board. By 10:56 p.m., Trump can be seen descending the stairs of the legacy Air Force One, this time in view of the cameras.
You know, the lies are piling up. And this kind of thing happens to presidents all the time. And they could easily just say, fuck you, I'm not doing that. I'm not cowering in some fucking truck. I'm not abandoning my plane and my people. You know, I'm going to go down with the fuck. He's the commander in fucking chief, right? He's sneaking around all the lies that are being told here. and many of them, like it's like the threat is past. He's getting back on the Air Force One plane, so he's in England. No credible threat anymore. It's going to fly back home to America. The other thing about this is happened on July 8th. On June 19th, Miriam Adelson wrote that piece talking about how Trump was a failure. He had betrayed Israel because of the Iranian deal. Remember, that's when this was going on. So, there's a lot of negativity coming from the Israeli shills, the Zionist shills. And so Trump probably was worried they're going to fucking Charlie Kirk him, right?
He walked across the tarmac slowly, back to the Qatar jet, for the flight home to Washington. On the way home, he was asked about some of the unusual security precautions.
Because you're probably on a dangerous way because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with. But if I go, you go, right?
If I go, you go. But if you go, I don't necessarily go because I'm sneaking onto another plane. If I go, you definitely are going. But if you go, you might just be on a decoy and I'm on another plane. So it's just, let's play that again. This is the best part, right?
Unusual security precautions.
Because you're probably on a dangerous way because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a
So
specific
perhaps someday you want to change professions.
So he says there, if I go, you go. In fact, that's not at all what would happen if disaster had struck on this particular flight. Those reporters, as well as the staff who were left on board, essentially left to be unwitting decoys for the president's plane. Now, everyone who travels on Air Force One knows that they are not the security priority. That's just implicit in the arrangement.
He goes, but he's been doing this for 15 years and he's never seen anything like this because there hasn't been a bigger fucking pussy or coward in the White House than Trump. And, for a guy who talks so tough and is pushing all these buttons and doing this shit, like he's, I mean, I think he was probably scared of Israel. If this was true or whatever's going on, whatever the threat was, I doubt it would be Iran, but maybe, who the fuck knows? Either way, he was scared shitless and they fucking cater trucked him, right? So this is just like, even for Trump, this is kind of a shocking revelation. And this won't go out to Fox News unless they cover it, so the dumb fucks can see what a fucking pussy they have, and that he would throw all these other people under the bus. I mean, it's just egregious. It's fucking really bad. And like I said, I don't believe in being a big tough guy and all this fake bravado U.S. bullshit. I mean, I don't think you should take unnecessary risks. You've been given a gift of life as a soul, that has an opportunity to evolve here on planet Earth. You don't throw away your life for stupid bullshit. I mean, all of us took unnecessary risks in our lives and did stuff that, we shouldn't have, and, whatever it might have been in terms of things that could have ended. I mean, I fell off a zip line, dumb shit. Like, we all do stupid shit. But as you get older, you realize that you don't do shit like that. And there's no reason to act like a tough guy or do it. It's just silly. It's childish. But this is what these guys believe in. The people who fight for believe in Trump, and that he sold them that he's one of these guys. And you can see the amount of lies he told, all the people he lied to, all of his people that were many of his staff, people that he should care about, and he didn't give a shit about them getting fucking blown up, right? Being on a decoy plane. The only reason he wasn't on that plane is because he thought something was going to happen to it. And everyone on that plane didn't fucking know. Imagine what you would feel if you were one of his staff people. Holy shit, he just fucking screwed us all. It could have fucking been, a tragedy, right? But for it to work, they all had to go about business as normal, and it seemed like he was on there, and then take him off and fuck all these other people. Fuck all these goy that are on. So holy shit. All right, so that's the addition to the video. Let's get into the other stuff. I mean, everything's so fucked up now. Brah, this is fucking really bad. All right, let's get into the original video here. Okay, not so fast. Let's, I had this thought. Did Caroline Leavitt make the trip with Trump to Turkey? I didn't even ask about the decoy flight. And this is what Google AI says. White House officials have not explicitly specified whether Press Secretary Caroline Levitt, was physically present on the trip to Turkey or on the decoy aircraft. Like, they volunteered that shit, right? While high-level A's such as Marco Polo Rubio, Scott Bessant, Stephen Miller, and Stephen Chung were identified on the decoy flight, Levitt and the White House did not release full passenger manifests. They know this is an issue. Like, Carolyn Levitt had a newborn baby. Stephen Miller's wife was pregnant at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, so he probably had a newborn baby too. But her baby could have been with her, traveling with her, right? Because she was doing her job, but also, who knows what's going on with the baby, but she might have, I don't know. The baby could have been on that plane. And so they know they have fucking real problems here. And I mean, Marco Polo Rubio, all these other people were on the fucking plane. Like, it's so egregious. It's so fucking bad. I mean, it's horrible. This is low for even Trump. Anyways, all right, so that's that. Let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so this is, turn the audio on here. Greetings, brothers and sisters. Tuesday, August 11th. This video is going up Wednesday at 9 p.m., and then there'll be no video on Thursday, and then back at it, right? There's a great comment. Lefties, am I right? And so this is Andrew Kovit's the real Andrew Kovit.
The Kirkification stuff we were talking about for any.
So this guy's talking about, we'll get to this in a second. The real Andrew Kovit, they brought the Chubbs on the pod to give the take on the situation. So this got 6,000 likes, this comment. This next comment only got, bro almost laughed when he said Diddy. Lefties, am I right? The Poop Podcast. Asking the hard questions, boys. Mega Goy Podcast. So it's mostly he's getting rung up on his own Instagram. So he sat down with these guys, and I tried to get a bigger video that I don't like this format. I like and it's on Instagram. But, then I'm like, who cares? So, I like to get the widescreen stuff or whatever. Because I do it on my laptop here. I record. But here.
Anybody who doesn't know, there's deep fakes of Charlie Kirk that people share, and my friends were dying laughing. And I asked them, what's funny about that? And nobody could articulate what it was that made them laugh. It was just some reaction.
It is like this almost mindless reaction to it.
Depictions of his death, or
no? It's just it's random. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Charlie's featured in this, but what other things are we seeing in this? What's common?
Epstein. To be honest with you, that's one of the main features. Trump, J.D. Vance,
Diddy.
He did, yeah.
So it's from the lefties.
Yeah, but I think it's also now starting to become the uber far right culture as well. Kind of the Groyper culture and all of that.
Is the joke just like anarchic stuff that it's just Charlie with Epstein is funny because it's absurd?
Blake Neff showing up. Look at Blakey go. And so they're talking to young people who are, so the issue here with all of this, there was some guy that showed up on Joe Rogan and was trying to defend Erica Kirk and these guys. The real issue here, I think I have something with Candace. Oh, yeah, we'll get into that later. Rob Schneider wrote a tweet about Candace, so I want to talk about that in a bit. But, these guys are having to deal with the fact that it's a joke. They're a joke, right? Charlie's become a joke, this, the movement, whatever it was, heavily funded by Israel and built around the worship of Donald Trump has crumbled. The fucking right wing has crumbled. Everything is crumbling. And the left wing's going to crumble just as quickly. Because the left wing has nothing. All they've ever had in the last, 15 years is at least we're not Trump. Or, 12 years or whatever. That's been their whole thing. Oh, at least we're not Trump. Which is, a compelling argument for a little bit. And then they start talking about fucking, corn pop and fucking T-bone, right?
Will it have a political point at all?
I don't think it necessarily has a political point, but I also think it's somewhat of a mockery. I've been sent something from someone who's even a conservative on these platforms, these memes, and it's like, what are we doing? It's getting unsensitive, and that's where I'm starting to be like, we need to draw the line here.
The
Kirkification
stuff we were talking about, for anybody who doesn't know, there's deep...
Okay, deep fake. So that's, so these guys, this is Andrew Covert's. This is his thing here. And, he's got, what has he got? Maybe this is not the real Andrew. It's got a check mark. 29 posts, 9,000 followers. That sounds about right. Here's Erica.
Erica Kirk is the most defamed person in human history.
She's certainly on a list. She's certainly maybe the most defamed person in the history of the English-speaking world. What's went on, and for what? For being the dutiful wife of the most.
Well, that's not why. It's not why. It's because she's fucking the worst fake grieving person in history. Like, it's not because there's plenty of reason why, so we'll get into that in a bit with
high-profile martyr in the history of our world. All transpired, I believe, because of what happened after Charlie's murder. And that is the most viewed proclamation of the gospel that this world has ever seen. More people came out of that with more church and more Bible than they have any singular event in the history of this hemisphere. That was like every George Whitefield and John...
Okay, so the majority of people, this is a Christian on Christian crime. This is TPUSK. The lefties, like, they keep on trying to blame the lefties who do not give a shit other than laughing at Charlie Kirk. They don't give a shit. They're not the ones that are doing this. The people that are following Candace Owens aren't fucking, lefties. I mean, it's people that they're maybe they do some drive-by stuff with this. The lefties aren't the ones that are anti-Erica Kirk. It's former TPUS gay people and right-wing people can't believe this bitch, right? The lefties laugh and they're like, they love to see the MAGA people go after each other. But this isn't because of the Bible or the gospel. It's silly. It's because she's a cunt and she can't she went her husband's business and is whatever way it is, she's implicated as being a part of a conspiracy to kill the guy and take over his business and return it to a never talk badly about Israel. Like, why isn't Dave Smith on the show anymore? Why isn't Tucker Carlson there? Charlie Kirk even talked about bringing back Candace. Why is there's no people that Charlie Kirk was, when Charlie Kirk died, he was moving towards more criticizing Israel. Megyn Kelly, he went Tucker Carlson, invited Tucker Carlson, told them to go full max at his thing, which meant criticizing Israel. And now that's disappeared. Like, that was a thing that he was into, and they pretended it that not. And there was a lot of people that were with him. Like, he was being dragged over to that side by his audience. And so when he got whacked and he shut that shit down, all those people, which was the majority of his audience, and the suspicious bullshit that they did paving the fucking ground where the fucking shrapnel was, right? So with all that stuff, I mean, here.
Jonathan Edwards revival and sermon in just one afternoon. Coming out of that memorial was the first time I thought there was a real chance we might be able to unite around first principles as believers. And so I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the enemy said, oh snap, can't let that happen, and mobilized as fast as he could.
Erica Kirk is
against Erica Kirk. All right, so this is Andrew Covert's his real shit here. Let's go to this. All right, so Candace Owens sucks, which I've talked about. She's a everybody look at me person, on steroids. Like, she is an attention seeker, and really annoying and off-putting, and plays with her audience, and never really delivers, and just keeps the drama going. She's like into drama. Everyone probably who watches my videos know that I'm not a Candace person, because you don't have to be either or. That's what everyone thinks. You have to pick a side. You don't have to be Team Candace or Team Erica. You can be Team to watch these two cute cunts fight it out. Right? But Rob Schneider, who, the guy, for his part, came out against vaccines, which I appreciated as a celebrity. He was anti-vax and he seemed knowledgeable about it, but he's a right-wing piece of shit. These people who, at some point you got to realize there's no difference. You got to fucking evolve out of the binary bullshit, and there's no political. You have to pick a side. This whole thing, like they give you two choices and you have to pick one, and you can also say fuck you. I don't want either choice, right? Which is what everyone should do. Like at some point, like just. And so he writes this. Candace Owens is a social media skulldugger. I like the word skullduggery, but I don't like the tense he used it here. Skulldugger is not skullduggery. Skullduggery is one of my favorite words. And I should try to work it in more, but I forget to do it. She is truly an immoral slanderer and bottomless pit of nauseating lies and easily disproved innuendo. A vile, soulless traitor to those who helped her. She is a parasite living off the vacuous ghouls who have lost all sense of decency. So, Rob is talking about all of us who can see through Erica's bullshit. So fuck Rob Schneider, right? Like, if you're going to be somebody who is in Hollywood and doesn't accept the Hollywood programming of being a liberal, that's kind of, that's praiseworthy. But when you buy into this right-wing bullshit, when Trump is turned out to be a total piece of shit, this guy also, Rob Schneider also posts somewhere in here, it's probably pretty far down. He's posting Andrew Kovic stuff. Like he's an Andrew Kovic, he's behind them. And Erica Kirk, I think he's got something to do with TPUSK. And so the issue here isn't whether he criticizes Candace Owens, and there's some truth to what he's saying. The issue here is that he is saying that all of us who can see through Erica's fake bullshit, because anybody with half a fucking brain can do it, that she's a, like insincere in her thing. He's got a lot of anti-Muslim stuff here. Is, go ghoul. He called us ghouls. I reclaimed the word ghoul, when it meant something else. But he's, obviously been allowed to do this because Hollywood is largely run by Zionists, and he is, really slamming Muslims. We do not want Sharia in America. Deport. Who has more power in America? Islam, Muslims, or Israel, right? So, pro-Israel people. And so, look at, he's got all this Islam stuff. So he's turned into an anti-Islamist, which, there's no Islamic takeover of America. There's none of that. France, yeah, there's, a lot of people from those countries, those war-hard countries, are there. But somewhere in here, he has, he posts a lot of shit. I scrolled through looking for that tweet. I wanted to make sure I saw it at Facebook first, the tweet about Candace. But he has Andrew Kovic. We got this thing. I'll show you that. That's kind of interesting. I have that one as well. But anyways, he's pro. He's got some Utah stuff here. And he's reposted some Andrew Kovic stuff. So he's one of these worthless pieces of shit. So the issue here is, here we have these two guys.
Now, if you asked me, is it okay to vote Democrat? I would tell you very, very clearly, absolutely not.
Okay. Is that your whole thing? We can't vote for Democrat because you're making fucking the rules now? What about not voting? What about voting for fucking Mickey Mouse because his fucking... He's less of a perv than the other two candidates.
I don't know.
But not that Mickey's not a perv, right?
It's gotten into people across the podcast sphere, the internet sphere. There is a lot of people that will look you straight in the face that you have known to be conservatives for many years that will tell you, actually, we need to vote Democrat. We need to burn this down, and we need to usher in an era of post-left and right politics. That's an old paradigm, bro. Well,
that's an old paradigm, bro. Look at how cool he is.
That's not true. If you vote Democrat, they will let in 3 to 5 million third worlders a year illegally.
All right, so let's see. They're going to go to the polls here. Let's I think it's a comment, but let's so let me just say this. The problem here is, and I think it's intentional. I don't think that this happened unorganically. The destruction of America is what's at play here, right? Like, all the things that are being done here are, Americans have a certain idea of what their lifestyle should be. And it's far superior to that in other countries. Like when they were doing the the UN was doing the Millennium Development Goals. They had, Gaddafi, who was in Libya, and they were one of the only countries that was going to reach the Millennium Development Goals. And I realized this a lot about the Millennium Development Goals because my meditation, the Sajmarg meditation, there were some fucking piece of shit that wanted to become an NGO for in 2011 or 12, right when I was doing a lot of research, because what happened with Libya was just a nightmare. The UN decided to just take over Libya and ordered America and all these other countries that were more than willing to do it because of the resources and because Gaddafi was going to take down the petrodollar. He was trying to get all these countries to sell gold oil in a gold dinar, oil for gold, in the gold dinar, and they had like all this gold. Libya had he'd accumulate all this gold, and they were going to sell gold for oil, which would be two commodities, which would take down the economic system, starting with the petrodollar. That's why he was taken out, and the UN was, had its fingerprints all over this. Some place that an organization that was supposed to be about peace took down somebody who was about to reach their Millennium Development Goals, which I knew about, right? And so when they started to become, when I found out they were becoming an NGO, I started talking to these guys. They're moneyed guys, rich Indian guys. Many of them lived in America. And, they were, one guy who I'd known for a long time said, we're not going to miss this opportunity because of your radical idealism. And I'm like, radical idealism? Like fucking it's spirituality, you piece of shit. Do you not read the books? You worthless motherfucker, right? Because if I didn't have some sort of idealism, I wouldn't be doing the meditation. Like it's what you're supposed to sell out and be you corporate fuck. And so these guys were the guys who are now around Kamlesh Patel, the guy Dodgy. And so I have a whole personal thing with the UN and their bullshit. But they had these Millennium Development Goals, and Gaddafi was about to reach all of them. There was a report the year before they took him out that, he gave away all his weapons of mass destruction. He was making public and private partnerships with corporations. He took Libya from being the poorest country in Africa, the poorest fucking country, to the richest country. Better education, all these things. Like he was rocking it. The people loved him. He developed this water system where they're taking glacial water and they were greening the desert and growing food. He had all these award-winning shit, right? He was using the resources that they had to make the country better. And they just fucking took him out because of, he was a threat because of his, whatever it was, right? But he was actually doing a good job. And why I'm saying this is he was doing a good job, and he became the richest country in Africa, and the average income there was $10,000 a year. And it was low when he took over. They had a coup. They had a king there, King Idris, that was put in by Italy. Italy had sort of colonized them for a little bit. And then he took over for that guy. And as a military coup, a bloodless military coup. And he turned the country around, right? And even turning the country around was $10,000 a year, which is, back then in 2011, it was a little bit better than now, but still, it was not a lot of money for Americans. You couldn't live in $10,000 a year in America, when in that 2011, you were far below the poverty line, was probably $30,000 or $40,000, whatever it might be. And so to understand this was the country that was the richest country in Africa, and that's what their income was, like their average income. And with a lot of resources, oil and minerals, Libya's a wealthy country, resource-wise. And so if you understand this, Americans have a lifestyle that is matched, in terms of like massive amount of people, the middle class. And it's resource heavy, and people feel entitled to it, and it's not something that can be continued. And so they're taking America down. That's what this is about. And, Erica Kirk and this thing and Charlie Kirk and all this stuff and the war in the Republican Party and, division in the country is a part of it, right? The division in the country when you're divided like America is, and it's just going to get worse over time, and Trump is divisive, this is all being done purposefully because they can't guarantee your lifestyle anymore. And they're going to give you a new deal that you don't want. And your kids are going to be fine with it because they live on the internet. The youngest generation, they can live in a little fucking, Agenda 31 house, 10 by 10 room with a computer and like basic needs because they spend most of their time on screens. So they don't need, they can live in some of these 15-minute cities. They're not going to want to go anywhere. They're not going to fucking drive or whatever it is. They'll accept it. They're going to accept the New Deal and robots and AI and whatever. And, depopulation and the rest of it. These fucking, depressed kids. But you won't, you older people, if you're 40, 50, 60, even 30 maybe, 70, whatever, you're not going to accept that. So that's why COVID was targeted at older people, and they want to clear out this generation. And these kids have a completely different understanding about life, completely different expectations, and they're going to get rid of the older generation, and that'll be that, right? And so in that, you have Erica fucking Kirk, who, I don't think that she was just being a cunt, like she was just doing this on her own. Like she came in the day one, and she had that weird casket video, then gave a speech, and she fake cried. Then it was seen laughing, where she was laughing at a meeting, like 8 days after his death, 5 days after his death, whatever it was. Couldn't wait to assume his job, and then took it back to where it was 2 or 3 years ago. Charlie Kirk, the stuff where he was when he died disappeared. The Israel stuff, criticizing Israel, and so for Rob Schneider and these other people to pretend like we're all mean people for going after a widow, and it's being done because of some anti-Christian bullshit. It's not. Like, it's clearly for people who can think. Like her beauty contestant bullshit. And Candace Owens is, she's a part of it too, right? She's, controlled opposition on this thing. But, the reality is it's just all a fucking mess, and these people are, like, really disgusting. Like, they're bad people. I never use the word disgusting. People use it all the time, but, like, are just, not dishonest, fundamentally dishonest, right? This guy's trying to tell you that this idea of there's no, the right and the left are compromised, that there's no difference, and they're clinging to something where it's like they're anti-truthers, right? They're anti any kind of movement that's happened with people where people are using critical thinking skills.
Do it happily. They will smile to your face. They will lie to you about why they are doing it, that it's even happening at all. They will tell you the border's secure, and they will overrun this country. For that issue alone, you should never vote Democrat again. There are myriad issues of which you could put in that category, but for that issue alone, you do not want America to be invaded again by third worlders. If you have kids, grandkids, you do not want to vote Democrat. But if our pitch is only going to be that voting Democrat is the least worst choice, or is the most worst choice, and that voting Republican is the least worst choice, then that is not an inspiring message to about 50% of the country. Because you got 25% hardened on this side, 25% hardened on that side, and then you got about the mushy middle, the normies, as we sometimes...
The mushy middle. The mushy middle. Like somehow they're worse than you. There's nobody worse than you. I mean, there's people as bad as you. You can say the people who can't make a decision, the mushy middle. Like, it's anybody who wants to vote and thinks it's going to be solved by voting is fucked. Like, it's just, you're too far gone. Like, I mean, if you don't know by now, I mean, majority of people are fucked who are awake and, understand about the left-right paradigm. They don't, they're unadaptable. They can't adapt. They're, it's just, change is too hard for them, right? But, despite all that, this piece of shit, like, just, if Trump was doing a good job, you wouldn't be saying this stuff. If people felt good about the direction of the country, Trump would be a shoo-in, and he would get support. It's not going to happen. And when Trump goes, you've lost your, your catalyst, your big personality, your superstar. And you don't have somebody in the waiting. Like you just have, people who are have unenthusiastic support. Just like the Democrats. You have, nobody who like appeals to people. And you're not going to get one. Because people now have seen authentic. People have seen authentic people being authentic people. And even if those, like, let's say somebody that they think is authentic, like Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or somebody like that ran, they would end up saying they being inauthentic as a politician. They would have to, say shit that nobody would agree with, right? So all the so-called authentic people out there, people just being themselves, would lose that if they became politicians, because you have to say shit and do things and cover up stuff. When you realize if you spoke the truth as a president, you'd bring down the whole system, right? You can't be a politician and speak truth, other than being a marginalized one, right?
Sometimes call them. And that's not a pejorative, by the way. People should not be so fixated on politics. The politics of this country should run itself and should be something you could sort of put in the background and depend upon that it will be handled professionally in an adult manner with common sense.
Like the way you guys took over Charlie Kirk's show, like that way?
It's in the best interest of the country. We are not in that era. And so there are a lot of people fixated on politics, and they're just getting bad vibes. And I will repeat myself till I'm blue in the face that I think it goes back to the way Epstein was handled for a lot of people. That felt like a psychic break.
No, it also the way you guys took over Charlie Kirk's show. Like, you guys are a part of this. Like, you're getting fucking rolled. You think people are rolling you in the fucking comment section? That you're getting ratioed on your own Instagram platform? They're making fun of you? You're a fucking joke? Because of Epstein? No, because you were, it's because of you, it's because of Trump, it's because of the way you guys fucking failed to live up to some sort of, authenticism. You weren't authentic. And just, you weren't a real person. Like, you're just whatever the fuck this is, right?
A betrayal of trust, of transparency. Whether or not the admin knew that, I don't think they understood that. But it was...
Trump fucking was Epstein. Like, we all know Trump was Epstein. Like, everybody knows it. Even you know it. Like, deep down, everyone knows that Trump and Epstein were, buddies. And they were, Trump said it. Trump said he was a terrific guy. They were good friends for a long time. Trump has, weird sexual stuff, which has been documented because he just can't fucking keep his mouth shut. Like, he's out of all the Epstein's people, Trump has said the most weird shit and has the most accusations against him. There's an Epstein girl there. And Trump clearly did not want the Epstein files to come out. Like, everybody knows that. Republicans left Trump because of it. And then you guys hammered those people. Why not bring Marjorie Taylor Greene on and these other people and apologize to them and say, yeah, this has divided us. And then blame it on the one guy who stopped it from happening. Everyone else in Trump's administration wanted it to come out. They said it before he was elected. And Trump was like, hold your horses, right? And Trump came out and said a lot of good people, a lot of his friends, a lot of people he knows would be embarrassed by this, including himself. And so, that's it. Trump was Epstein. Like, everybody knows it. Like, everybody deep down knows that Trump is part of the Epstein fucking list. He's the list.
It's a break, okay? And
he's the A-lister.
Mad at me in the emails if you want, that we're playing into the hoax. I'm just telling you the politics of it, folks. Now, do I think Trump did anything wrong? No, of course. But I think that...
but why? Based on what? What do you have that would say the fact that Trump, would walk into dressing rooms at his beauty pageants, which he admitted himself, that he admitted on Howard Stern that he would walk into a dressing room where the girls were naked, half naked, of 19-year-old girls, Miss Teen USA, and inspect them. He'd walk in, and his staff told him to go up and kiss his ass and touch him and fawn all over him. He'd walk in. He said he could get away with it because he owned the pageant, which is, it's a felony to do something like that, right? We would walk into a ladies' room as a man, right? That's what, you guys are against transgender men going into ladies' rooms and being in, a woman's room with, 6-foot guy in a dress being in there with an 11-year-old girl. No, you guys are psyched about that shit, right? Or even just a full-grown woman. You guys are all against that, right? But Trump gets away with it for some reason. Fuck you, right? Of course he's Epsteined.
Could have been handled better. Then you get into Iran. A lot of people believe that President Trump said no new wars. It's not exactly what he said. He was very consistent on Iran. Nevertheless, the Iran conflict, you go back to Midnight Hammer, but then you get into the spring.
It's Israel. Admit that it's Israel.
And the ongoing conflict with Iran. It's been a drag, okay? It's been a drag. And unfortunately, this has resulted in some very negative polling, and we have to be honest about it. We have to offer something better.
Now you want to be honest? What are you going to offer better? You're going to redo the Epstein files? You're going to fucking back out of that war that Trump was put in by Israel? He's going to come out? You're going to... What do you have better? What can you possibly have that's better? I mean, the Democrats just don't have to, just stop being themselves. They just, they stop, like Kamala, when they made Kamala stop her cackle. Like the Democrats just have to not be Trump. I mean, that's all they have to do is keep their mouths shut and not be Trump. And, criticize the things that everyone's mad at, like the Iran war and Epstein files and, Israel.
Then we're just not as bad as the other guys. And I think Blake would agree. Blake, I'm going to play this clip, and then I'm going to have your reaction on the other side, and you can...
You're done, Blake, would you?
You can sort of analyze how we got here. Stop 15.
What is going on, Mr. Berman? What's going on is simple. Is the MAGA movement was built among the working class, non-college Americans. And take a look at this trend line that we're looking at in the data. Here we go. Okay, net favorability rating, the MAGA movement, non-college adults. Back in October of 2024, look at that. On the plus side of the ledger, positive, plus 6 points. Down we go into the Atlantic Ocean now. Look at this movement. Now minus 22 points. That is...
Why the Atlantic, bro?
The shift, Johnny B, of 28 points away from the MAGA movement, away with non-college Americans. So the bottom line is the group at which the Trump movement was built upon, they are shifting away and saying, we don't like MAGA anymore.
Well, it's as he says, non-college Americans. You have to think about what that represents. That represents
dumb fucks,
blue-collar working class people, like the union voters who swung towards Trump. It represents a lot of rural voters. I think a lot about, if you've ever heard of...
I don't think going to college makes you smart, but I'm talking about people who didn't go to college and fell into Trump's bullshit, right? People who don't have critical thinking skills. I didn't know about Charlie Kirk till after he died. I really hadn't heard him, at least to my knowledge. I didn't have a reference point. And I didn't like him, once I started to listen to him. And it's not just about him being shackled up. It's not about his policies and these things. I found him difficult to listen to, or find him difficult to listen to. But I can see that he's better than these two guys, right? You see on on podcasts and a lot of these other, this genre of social media stuff. You have a guy, right? And then you have his sidekicks. This is the old Tonight Show with Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson type of situation. You have sidekicks, right? And the sidekicks are good in their role. You have role players on teams, guys who do the dirty work. And they're not superstars, but they can be a star in their role. They can be, better than other role players on other teams, right? They can be, whatever it is. And then they have, a second fiddle who's, could have maybe had the talent to be a star or whatever, doesn't have the personality or whatever, might be introverted or something. Or, just doesn't like the pressure of being, the face of the franchise, the face of the league, these kind of things, right? But these two guys, they were Charlie Kirk's sidekicks. And they were given credibility by people like Charlie Kirk. So they were a part of that. They were extensions of Charlie Kirk. And people liked them because of that. So they would be on his show. They'd come on the show, Mikey McCoy, some of these other people. If you go back and watch some of the older version of the show, right? They would be part of that. Charlie would be the centerpiece, and they would be there with him. So I wanted to go back here. And I went back to the oldest videos on this channel. And the oldest videos are only 2 years old. And the initial videos are all Charlie Kirk on campus. And then they start showing up in his office about a year and a half ago. So this is a relatively new YouTube channel, right? I don't know where he was, what else he was doing, but the majority of the videos were him on campus. And then he had his own show. He got his own studio. And then about a year ago, this is, during the election, Blake shows up here as his sidekick. Like he had Tucker Carlson on, he had a few other people interviewed, and mostly it was him. Sometimes he'd be in this office. Sometimes he'd be in the studio. Sometimes he'd be in the office. So this is a relatively new show. And here's Blake being his sidekick.
And I think he's had a lot of members of his campaign quit. So, and he was already down. He was not. It is a popular Democrat governor.
This is a happier Blake.
It was going to be tough to flip it back, even with a strong candidate. But he's been having a rough time, and it's starting to get to the point where he's down enough that you start to worry, is this dragging down the entire campaign in North Carolina? It's making people demotivated. That can hurt turnout.
A lot of people are...
This could bail us out.
So I wanted to lead with this. And by the way, no, I do not work for NPR. And this is not a smooth jazz late night radio station. A lot of people are emailing me, Charlie.
He's looking at something was wrong with his voice or something he was doing. He did this previous show. And so Blake was his sidekick. I don't see Andrew anywhere. I don't know how many times Andrew was ever on the show. Going through it, I'm not going to go through all of them. I went through quite a number of them. Just scrolling through. But Andrew didn't even appear on the show. So what they're trying to do is have Andrew take Charlie's spot and Blake continue on as his little buddy. Andrew Covert and his little pal, Blake. But America doesn't want it. I mean, TPUS gay people don't want it. They don't like Andrew, and now they don't like Blake. They didn't probably have much of an opinion on Blake because he wasn't really all that much a presence, and he's like Charlie's little buddy here. And, they liked Charlie. And, Charlie ended up being a piece of shit. But where Charlie was going was he was following his audience into the anti-Israel movement and some of these other things, anti-Iran movement, and Trump went the other direction. And TPUSK killed Charlie, or they were a part of whatever happened there, and they went with Trump, and now everyone's saying, fuck you. And, they're not really in on the whole big story here, just like Rob Schneider isn't. But to deny people that truth, that you've hijacked Charlie's show and took it in a direction that he was going in the opposite direction, and, and that Trump failed, and that it's a failure. Like your enthusiasm for Trump, he let you down. He let you down on Epstein. He let you down on the war stuff. He let you down on the economy. He grifted the shit out of it. He let you down in this crypto bullshit. He stole money from his followers. He let you down. He turned out to be a piece of shit. And you guys don't want to admit it because you have nothing else then. You got Gady Vance who sucks. You got Marco Rubio. You got, MAGA's done. MAGA was a joke. Trump was never to give a shit about America or anybody else but himself. And, they're owned by Israel, and the Democrats are just as bad. And they're all connected and part and run by the same people. And there's no solution here. And so they're trying to push back against blackpilling. But the reality is, it's not even black pill. It's over. It's been over for a fucking long time. They know it's over. The people controlling the system know it's over. For America, it's over for everybody. There's going to be a huge shift. The world that we grew up in years ago, depending on when you were born, has disappeared. And it wasn't that great either. We're going in the wrong direction. People are getting weaker. And the system is demonic, and it goes against God's will. And, like all systems, even if it was a good one, systems die. Empires die. Way of lifestyle. Things change. Change is a constant, the only constant. And so this is where we're at as a culture. And to pretend that Erica did a great job and it's, the lefties, stop talking about the lefties. You guys are at war with each other because you failed. You were at war with your own people. Your own people have left your movement, Charlie's movement, because it's now been hijacked by, people who are unwatchable. People who, Andrew Covert is not Charlie Kirk, and no one likes him like that, and there's no way he would ever carry his own channel and his own movement. Charlie Kirk got a lot of money to become Charlie Kirk, but at least he had some sort of ability to win an audience. And neither of these guys do. Even Blake. Okay, so before we end this, I missed this part, and it's going to be the title of the video. He called Candace Owen a skulldugger, but he called all of us who believe Erica Kirk is a cunt and all this stuff that we believe, whatever we believe. Maybe you don't believe that, but you don't believe in the official story. You don't believe in the Tyler Robinson stuff. He said, living off the vacuous ghouls who lost all their sense of decency. Right? So he says that you are, well, let's look up vacuous. Lacking ideas, intelligence, or meaningful content, it describes someone something that is empty-headed, dull, or hollow, much like an actual vacuum. Lacking intelligence, devoid of substance, idle or purposeless. I mean, that's what he's saying. Everybody who doesn't, believe the official story that Erica Kirk is vacuous, right? Here's the images of someone who is vacuous, like somebody with a, empty head, right? This kind of thing. Like vacuous describes a person who's in beauty contests, right? It doesn't describe people with critical thinking skills. And so he's saying that everybody who's, doesn't buy this official story is empty-headed piece of shit and a ghoul. Not only are you vacuous, like lacking any kind of substance and depth, but you are a ghoul on top of it, right? Like you're a living dead. And, like I brought back the word ghoul in the truth community. If people kind of remember this, like I saw Pete Davidson and Celine Dion, and I called them ghouls. Like, and I'd never used the word before. Like, it just seemed like the right word. And then it sort of kind of made a comeback and started being used quite a bit in the truth community. And so for him to use that against us, like the stuff that we call sheeple, he's calling us sheeple, ghoulish sheeple, right? And like, the people who buy into the official story are the sheeple. Like, these are people who like, oh my God, I can't believe that Erica Kirk's like this. Like, and I wasn't a TPUS gay person. I loved it for, all the reasons that we would love such a thing, because it just showed these people for who they are. But this piece of shit, this, Saturday Night Live piece of shit, right, who, again, was a champion against vaccines, which is great. And being a Republican in Hollywood is, pushing back on everyone's a liberal in Hollywood. But, for him to be like that about people who have critical thinking skills and can think for themselves and, can analyze what's going on with not only Erica Kirk, but Trump and realize that they're getting fucked by them, right? Like the people who are vacuous are the people who are still Trumpers. He's calling us dumb fucks. Like what I call dumb fucks, right? It's his soulless traitor. You're soulless if you somehow criticize Erica Kirk's unbelievably fake grieving and her, involvement in her husband's, her obvious involvement in her husband's demise. So fuck this guy. Fuck Rob Schneider. This fucking. Hey, Rob. When's Grown Ups 3 coming out? The fucking shitty movies he's put out. These goofy fucking characters in these fucking grown-up movies. The people who watch that are vacuous, right? The people who watch these stupid-ass fucking Adam Sandler movies. When's Grown Ups 3 coming out, Rob? And you're not even like fucking, you're like the fifth grown-up. You're in the back here. You're not even, if you got, Kevin James and fucking Adam Sandler and Chris Rock, they're like, the big stars, and David Spade, and you're like the fifth guy. Like you're the guy in the back, Rob. You're the least fucking important grown-up, right? Like, who gets paid the least amount of money to make those movies, Rob? There you are, Rob. Fucking Grown Ups. When's Grown Ups 3 coming out? I mean, all the vacuous dumb fucks who like this kind of movie and fucking absorb your shitty comedy, your unsophisticated comedy. Fuck you, Rob. Okay, just went shopping, had lunch, and I had some more thoughts about this stuff. Sometimes it could be a little bit overkill, but I want to drive the point home. I've been talking about these late to the party motherfuckers, right? And so, I don't know what Rob Schneider's truther arc right-wing truther arc is. But he did a good job of talking about vaccines before COVID. Like, he was one of the few people out there, celebrity, right? Which makes, you're going to get a lot of street cred in the truth community. And, I applaud that kind of thing. And, they then came out as a Republican, and I don't know, and being anti-vax wasn't really a Republican thing. But later on, he came out as a Republican. So he was like a Republican person who did some truther shit, which is fine. That is whatever. I mean, it's more than you could usually expect from some celebrity. Grown Ups 3 on Instagram. And so, he entered into the fray and became a Trumper. And of course, Trump is, Jesus Christ, is he the shortest fucking guy in that show? Like, I don't think there's anybody over. Like, Chris Rock looks like a giant. What's Chris Rock? Remember Will Smith towered over the guy? Where do you have to be? There's a rule against being over 5'7" when you're on Saturday Night Live. Like, so anyways, he did whatever he did. That's fine. But these late to the party motherfuckers that came in on something that we built, and it doesn't matter whether you're a celebrity or anybody else. Like, I was talking about practice in my last video. And you have to put in time. You got to put time and effort into things to really, speak about them or, be a part of something. And, putting time in as a right-wing truther, you have to start from the beginning. Like, you have some ability to do some investigation and, looking outside. You're not buying into the mainstream narrative. If you're not buying into the mainstream stories, lines, and these things, but you're still a dumb fuck. Like, you're still buying into the system. And then you're going to reach a point where you realize politics doesn't matter. The Democrat, Republican, most of this is just, I don't want to call it distraction because that word gets overused, but it's just something to make it feel like you're a part, that your opinion matters. It makes you feel like you have a voice. And that's what democracy is about. It's not to give you a voice. It's to make you feel like you have one. And that, because the one thing that they do fear from people, the one leverage is they worry you're going to go full mob. The masses. That's, pretty much it. Like, boycotting, sure, but mob is what they're worried about. Mobs burn shit down, kill families, get rid of dynasties. I mean, they don't do much because it almost always gets worse after there's a revolution, but they fear a revolution. And so they pacify you by, allowing you to find basically like teams that you can be on, some persona. Like, you're watching, I remember there was this, I never saw anything but clips of the Twilight movies, but the two lead male actors there, I think one was a werewolf and one was a vampire. And there was Team Jacob and Team fucking, I don't know what the other guy's name is. People are like, I'm on team this, I'm on team that, right? I'm on team Candace, I'm on team Erica. And it makes you feel like, you're a part of something. But it's complete bullshit. Your opinion doesn't mean anything. And even the people who run the system, their beliefs and opinions mean very little. Especially now that we're in, auto-destruct mode where, there's no longer people can change the outcome of what's going to happen, right? And so when people like this, don't reach a level that most of us are on, right? Level where we understand the left-right paradigm and we know Republicans and Democrats are part of the same bullshit. That person, and we've put in time developing our understanding of it. Hours of whatever it is that we've thought about this. And, the longer you spend doing something, if you're moving and you're growing and you're learning, then you know a lot more than these other motherfuckers, right? And so when this motherfucker shows up here and says, that she's truly a moral slanderer and bottomless pit of nauseating lies and easily disproved innuendos, a vile, soulless traitor to those who helped her, she's a parasite living off the vacuous ghouls who have lost all sense of decency. So he's defining all of us, and again, we're not Candace Owens fans because she sucks. I'm certainly not a Candace. She was late to the party, motherfucker, too. She's not a true truther, but she supported Donald Trump and bought into the bullshit fake assassination attempt. So did this piece of shit, Rob Schneider. But to call us the sheeple, like he's calling us the sheeple, the the vacuous ghouls have lost all sense of decency. Like, you know what? Because Erica Kirk's this fucking cunt is a real grieving widow. Like this, I mean, when she came out and did all that shit, you know, it's because she sucks. Like it's not our fault that she's completely insincere and inauthentic. Like nobody buys that shit. You know, the people that buy into this shit are the sheeple. They're the fucking ghouls. They're the people brain dead motherfuckers. They're the NPCs. And so to call us that, right? Like this motherfucker, you know, this Grown Ups 3 motherfucker, you know, whatever. He played some male prostitute in some movie, like really bad comedy. And you don't see the comedy in this. It's funny as fuck. Like, you know, there's comedians. Like, you think, what do you think Drewski's? Like, he's some just liberal pit person that, you know, again, I didn't find the Drewski thing funny. But at least he understands that there's comic value in this. That this is, you know, there should be a comedian's gold mine, like this woman here, you know, all this stuff. She's a Saturday Night Live character. And they haven't even, you know, gone after her on Saturday Night Live. So, which they should. I mean, has there been a Saturday Night Live? You know, if they did, they would fuck it up anyway because they suck over there. But, you know, you don't find this funny and insincere? You think this is a real grieving widow? Her and her fake beauty contestant bullshit fucking way of presenting herself? She's a disaster. And she was a disaster the moment she opened her fucking mouth and started to fucking cry over Charlie's casket. Like, what the fuck was that? And put it up on Instagram. Like, she became a joke. And everybody who bought into her bullshit is a joke as well. And a dumb fuck. And the fact that this guy would claim that we're the problem. We're the people without critical thinking skills. We're the fucking vacuous people. We're the empty people with no substance, right? When you have this is what you're fucking defending, right? So, you know, Schneider. Okay, so this was Donald Trump's fucking tweet last night, Donald J. Trump. I see that the representatives of Islamic Republic of Iran are asking for compensation for damage done to them during the last 5-month military conflict started because they will not have a nuclear weapon. You know, that was not why it was started. You started a war, which was a war crime. There was no reason. They didn't do anything to you. You know, maybe historically you might say some bullshit. But, you know, like we all know that. We don't need to say that. You know, I don't need to say that. Everyone knows. That's bullshit. Even though it was never mentioned in any of our negotiations or meetings. But it is an interesting idea because now I likewise demanding compensation from Iran for all the people they have killed and gravely wounded with their roadside bombs in many conflicts, for which they are famous, as led by General Soleimani, including the families of those killed on the USS Cole and thousands of others killed in combat. You know, they should ask for reparations for getting rid of Mossadegh, which happened, the CIA admitted to. You did regime change, right? Like, you know, like if there was some higher consciousness you could appeal to, they could get trillions of dollars from America, from what America did years ago. But, you know, tit for tat bullshit. There's no tat, right? What America has done to Iran is far worse than anything that Iran has done. Like it's like, you know, less than 1% of what America has done to them. You know, but that's neither here nor there. Additional compensation should be paid to the families and the hundreds of thousands of innocent protesters that Iran has killed over the last 50 years. You mean compensation that you want for Iranian citizens being killed? Who gets that compensation? You and your little fucking retarded kids? Not to mention the 52,000 that have been killed in the last 5 months. Retarded. I have instructed my representative to put this firmly to any and all future negotiations. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, he got fucked over by Israel. Like, he didn't want a war. He's you know, repeating this thing over and over again that nobody fucking believes. Nobody with fucking any kind of sense would believe that this is about nuclear war. That's not a Rob Schneider piece of shit like someone like that. And the people over TPUSK who nobody likes. But in terms of, you know, the negotiations, they got you by the fucking balls because they can obviously keep the Strait of Hormuz open. He can't stop them from closing the Strait of Hormuz. So he's just decided, or we'll close it too. Like, that's, you know. And now the world is suffering because of lack of oil prices going up. Americans are suffering. There's all these things going on. and he can't do anything about it. You know, they got him. They fucking got him, and he knows they got him, and he's still talking shit like this. Like, you know, I mean, it's just posturing. At some point, he's going to have to fucking take a bad deal. He's going to have to claim it's a good deal, and no one's going to buy it. And that's just whether he's going to take the bad deal before the midterms or after, and he's fucked either way. Like, you know, I know when people are screwed, and, you know, you do too. Most people do. When you're in a situation where you're fucked, we all have been there, where you're just in a shitty situation, and you hold the losing hand, right? And he's in these situations all the time. He tries to bullshit his way out of them. But, you know, he's not bullshitting his way out of this and the rest of these things. Especially when, you know, the tide is turning in terms of public opinion of Israel and all these things. You know, this guy's going to go down as a disgrace. And they're trying to put in all these bullshit Republican policies that the dumbass Democrats are going to immediately, the Democrats as he calls them, are immediately going to overturn as soon as they take power. And so, like, he's going to be erased from history, and America's going to swing left because of him. Like, there's going to be a reaction. Like I always said, you know, all these liberals who come out now, all these Joe Biden people who come out now and are whining and saying, hey, we were right about Trump. Yeah, but if you didn't fucking sick Joe Biden on the American people, you wouldn't have Trump 2.0. Trump beating Joe Biden would not be as bad as this. He wouldn't be doing all the shit he's doing now. He had 4 years to stew in his own anger and get empowered. And so you electing a guy with Parkinson's who shit himself all the time was an absolute joke just because you didn't want Trump. Now you've got Trump on steroids because, you know, whatever, the way they rigged the election and all that shit, and the whole MAGA movement, the gay-ass MAGA movement, and Charlie Kirk, all those things exist because of you and your dumbass fucking pushing Joe Biden because you didn't want Bernie Sanders or any of those other things. I mean, anybody would have been better than him, but you ran Joe Biden, and, you know, whatever happened with that election, it's your fault Trump is here, just like it's going to be Trump's fault for whatever bullshit Democratic administration and liberal shit that comes next. It'll be back to, like, you know, men playing women's sports and the rest of those things because of you, like, because of, you know, Trumpers. Like, you also have to realize what your actions do because the pendulum always swings back and forth in a binary system. And so you're screwing yourself over by going full Trump, going full right-wing crazy fuck, because you're never going to hold power forever. Okay, so I needed a picture for my thumbnail, and I wanted to. So I looked through Rob Schneider's. Look at him. Look at this fucking great actor. Look at him. I mean, just the range of this motherfucker. He can do that. What is he like? He plays each one of the village people. Like this guy, he's gone all the. You know, we see a theme here. Look at him. Look at that guy. Look at that fucking face there. Look at that incredible actor. Look at this guy. I mean, is there any racial group he hasn't offended? Where's his meme of a Jewish guy? Look at this guy. The guy looks fucked up eye and all that shit. I mean, the comic, the comic Megatron. Look at this guy. Soup Nazi, maybe. That guy. The many faces of Rob Schneider. I mean, the guy is just such an incredible actor. The hair thing's just not going away, which is great.
We're doing selfie. There he goes.
Hey. This is classic Joe Biden. Senile, fucking crazy-ass Joe Biden. See, you know, he appeared on Turning Point. Like, so there's all these people that are, they know that Erica Kirk is running the fucking organization into the ground. And they got to see it. They have no views. Like, fucking, they know Andrew Kovit's a disaster. I mean, some of these people have to know that. They know that the official story is bullshit. Like, she's part of it. They know that, you know, Israel probably played a role. I mean, all the things that we know, they would know. Like, they, you know, they're not stupid, some of these people. I would say Rob Schneider's probably one of them. But, you know, they have a huge following here, you know, whatever. Like, I mean, Andrew Kovit is not carrying his weight in terms of what Charlie used to do. But, you know, they can either go with the official organization or they can go against it, right? Like, that's what you have to do. Like, if you're calling bullshit on the official story and you're saying these people, then you're basically calling these people murderers. And so, like, this is where their bread is buttered. I mean, it's just a sickness that people have that they don't want to go against the people that are driving their audience, that are helping them driving an audience to them, right? He goes on now comedy tours where right-wing people go out to see him. And he'll make jokes about lefties and, talk about how great Charlie Kirk is. He's done this at a number of shows, where he has an audience now. There's a big right-wing audience out there, right-wing Christian audience. I don't know what his religion is, but maybe Christian and maybe something else. But he's got these people. And so he showed up here.
I was writing was this. First of all, I want to tell you, Charlie and I talked in August, and I said, "Congratulations, Charlie." And he said, "What?" I said, "You've made it." And he said, and he started laughing. And I said, "Well, South Park just made fun of you." And I said, "They did a great job on your head." Charlie had a different head. You know what I'm talking about. Not that he wasn't handsome, Erica. I didn't mean that at all. He was very handsome. However,
Erica doesn't give a shit. Like, she couldn't wait to put that motherfucker in the ground.
he had a head that was worthy of South Park.
Bring on Blake Neff. This guy's Jesus Christ. All right. So this is Royce White. I think he had depression problems. So he was a good player he had some kind of, I don't know what it was. Maybe he was scared of flying also, something, I'm not sure. But he's doing some great trolling here. It came, y'all, my first wig. Tomorrow I tested on the court. This is my feminine era glow up. Did I slay? If you all don't, Yas Queen, you're transphobic. I really don't understand all the hatred. I just want to play hoops with my fellow ladies. Ladies. Royce White for U.S. Senate, Minnesota 2026. WNBA, let her play. So, be interesting to see how this plays out. All right, what does this motherfucker have to say?
It's like, doesn't make sense, right?
Just doesn't. Fucking it doesn't. Look at his eyes. His eyes are fucking dead. He's a fucking walking corpse, this motherfucker.
Going back to the subject of Iran, sir, can you give us any estimate of when you think the Strait of Hormuz will be part
Well,
of
it's
any deal
open
to open
now.
up
We're
more?
taking a lot of shit. It's open now. Look, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible.
Infallible, this blockade.
It's a steel wall.
It's a steel wall. It's like we built it's like Mexico, where it's like a...
We let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So
coming in and going out. Much like my wife. During the Jeffrey Epstein days.
It's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others.
Okay, so then why haven't you just fucking suffocated them in such a way that they will make a deal? If they don't have, the only leverage they have is a Strait of Hormuz. Like, that's the only leverage. So if it's open, then why are you even talking about a deal with them? Why not just stay there inevitably? Like, why are gas prices going up? Because you're closing the Strait of Hormuz? Like, you're the ones who are driving gas prices up? Fuck are you talking about? Like, he's just a retired.
Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines.
He licks his lips here. Watch, he does this quite a bit.
A little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. We've
What's the smell?
mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear. But,
we didn't hear.
But we control the strait 100%.
Watch this.
Now, can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble. But they're broke. They have no money. Iran.
Wait, they're broke and they have no money?
Iran is broke, totally broke. And they're not paying their soldiers. They have inflation of 300% as of last night. I heard 309%.
Who's counting?
So we'll see what happens. But They've been banned for, they say 47, it's actually 50 now. 47, they've been saying it for 3 years. But for 50 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East. What they've done is terrible. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people. They've killed people, they've wounded and maimed people with the legs, the arms, with
The arms and the legs, they've maimed them. They didn't maim them with just thumbs. They maimed legs and arms and all kinds of shit.
the roadside bomb is their bomb. They're very proud of it.
They invented that.
And now they're paying a price. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, what price are they paying? When you're going to pay reparations and give them control of the Strait of Hormuz, right? Like, that's the deal that you have to make. Okay, so now it's just getting silly.
Folks, look at this tremendous flag. We're going to make America great again. Believe me, it's going to be huge. The best, nobody better.
I mean, now it's just getting silly.
Thank you. God bless America.
Look at this motherfucker. Look at him coming right at you. Look at that guy. Look at this crazy fuck. I mean, it's just so scary. Boom. All right. So this guy called you a vacuous ghoul. Fucking Duece Bigalow called you a vacuous ghoul. He charges $10, but he's willing to negotiate. I mean, comedy fucking gold. What a comic genius. Okay. I'm pretty sure you heard that. So I took a nap, got up and did some work and took my dogs out. Like, it stopped raining. I went out earlier to go shopping, and my wife said she had to chase off a big fucking red-tailed hawk, and it wouldn't leave the yard. And the chickens and the guineas were going nuts. And we had this lingering thunderstorm. And I came back. I started editing this video. And I always get tired when I do that. Like, it's just middle of the day, like 2 o'clock. I took a nap, and I woke up. My window was open. And, like, seconds after I woke up, thunder and lightning hit, like, right outside the window. Like, where there was no space between them, so it seemed like it struck a tree. Then it was a little bit, I almost out of these when I'm, take these naps. But I went outside, and the hawk was in this tree in our neighbor's yard, but kind of hovering over our yard. And I went by it, and I yelled bang, like it was taken. You're not allowed to hurt birds of prey, and I really don't want to. Like, I kind of think they're cool, but they can't be taking our chickens and hanging out, unintimidated. A lot of times the hawks get chased off by smaller birds. Like, we'll see a hawk flying by, and especially the red-winged blackbirds beat the shit out of it, like, because they have babies and they just don't tolerate any hawks or crows or anything like that. Anyhow, so then I did a sitting right before I think I did the sitting when I woke up. I'm not sure. Tuesday for the Gratefullness meditation. But here we go. So this is another thing on Facebook. I was watching a video of Jon Stewart. This is a Jewish guy. I was watching a video of Jon Stewart a little while ago, and he was interviewing John Fetterman. He grilled Fetterman on Fetterman's support of Israel. Stewart is another liberal Jew who thinks that the world will praise him as a good person if he verbally destroys the one little Jewish country in the world. He's not doing that, right? Like, Jon Stewart is clearly not on, a hater of Israel. I mean, if you've seen Jon Stewart talk about it, he's not a hater of Israel. But he does call Israel out on some of his bullshit, which nobody's allowed to do, including Jewish people. Which, there's lots of, there's only 15 million Jews. I don't know how many live in America. Something like that, 15, 16 million. And there's a lot of successful, wealthy billionaires, people in various positions of power in America that are Jewish, right? Like, everybody knows this. And there are, celebrities and influence on Hollywood. But there are, not that many. And these guys who, I don't know if Chuck Schumer ever criticized Israel. And that girl went after him twice. I showed you that video, my last video. And this guy's going after Jon Stewart for questioning Fetterman's, it's not really his support of Israel, but that Fetterman's line in the sand, because Fetterman's fucking brain damaged, is he's not going to support anybody who doesn't support Israel. Not somebody who has a different economic policy, or not somebody who's, anti-American. Nothing to do with America. Like Fetterman's number one, drop dead thing is that he's supporting Israel no matter what, which is pretty fucked. Like we all know that's pretty fucked. Like it's traitorous, right? And they're going after Jon Stewart for that. Like they don't allow you to even like Jon Stewart isn't criticizing Israel, and he said, and Jon Stewart said, the United Nations and these experts are calling this a genocide, and it's not real genocide if they don't kill all the people. That's something different. But what Israel did in Gaza is so much worse than that. They destroyed every building. It's a land grab. The Hamas is there. It's so bullshit, right? Anyway, let me move on to another topic. The guy writes, the destruction of the English language to further the liberal agenda. People that violate our laws to sneak into the country are called immigrants. A woman puts on a dress, he is called a woman. A man puts on a dress, he is called a woman. Israel responds to terrorism by warning with the government of Hamas in Gaza. In the process, less than 4% of the Gazan population dies. Is called a genocide. Now, it isn't the government, it's not a democracy in Gaza. Hamas has been propped up by Netanyahu. Dave Smith, another Jewish guy, debated Josh Hammer, with Charlie Kirk overseeing the debate. And Dave Smith said that, well, let's go to that here, if I can find it. So my wife and I listened to this in the car, driving, somewhere on a long-distance drive. And it is excellent. Dave Smith is an excellent debater. And he just rolls this guy, Josh Smith, who's really unlikable. And Charlie Kirk is clearly digging it. This is what got Charlie Kirk killed, right? Like bringing Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson into his forum. And then sort of, he's not just out now because Josh Smith is giving him money. Josh Hammer is giving him money and represents the people that own him. But he's clearly on Dave Smith's side.
See, you're whatever. That's when you'll criticize the IDF. Look, Josh is just lying when he says that Israel supported Hamas for all those years because they feared there might be a worse alternative. It's just not true. And this has been so widely reported. You don't have to rely on Haaretz. You can rely on all types of reporting, or you can just look at all of the leaders in their own words, what they said. They chose Netanyahu, and this was very controversial in Israel. There were lots of critics of this. Netanyahu thought he had this brilliant idea, which is that he would prop up Hamas and keep them in power. His exact quote was, "We can control the height of the flame." So he was like, we'll keep these terrorists in power, and that way we can tell the entire international community that, look, we have no partner for peace. We have no one to deal with here. And that way we never have to negotiate with the Palestinians. This was the game that he played, and it blew up in his face and really blew up in the Israeli people's face on October 7th. And I've never downplayed October 7th. I know, but I'm just making the point that I never have.
Thank you for that, because what happened there is totally evil.
You don't have to downplay any of that, and in fact, I've criticized many other critics of it.
So Josh Smith had no, Josh Hammer had no, Josh Hart's a basketball player. Josh Smith was also a basketball player. You got Dave Smith and Josh Hammer. Hammer had no response. It was no Hammer time. There was just no Hammer time. And Dave Smith has said this before, and no one's disputed it, that there's been, he had his own, I've heard this before from him or somebody else, that, people who study this thing. And Netanyahu went to his political party and said, we got to keep Hamas in charge. And Hamas, they were funding Hamas. Like when they weren't getting food to the Palestinian people, they could cut off water, electricity, and these things. They were still getting money to Hamas. Because Hamas is everything Israel wants there. Like it's, you have these, these false flag type enemies out there. America has like Al-Qaeda. America had Al-Qaeda and had ISIS. Like ISIS and Al-Qaeda were created by America. Al-Qaeda means the base. And it meant a database of people, terrorists, so-called terrorists, they could pay to do shit so that they could, use that, those actions as to justify getting money from the American people, scare the American people, all that shit with ISIS. ISIS was the old Revolutionary Guard that was being propped up by an oil field that America just gave to them so they could fund their bullshit, right? And so this happens all the time. you get a false enemy. You get like a straw man enemy, and you use it. It happened in the movie Princess Bride. Remember I believe it was called Gilder, right? The Prince Humperdinck was a very interesting character, and he was going to marry the Princess Bride and have her be kidnapped by Gilder and have her be slaughtered in Gilder, and that would provoke the people to want to go to war with Gilder. Right? This is a very common practice. Even in something as stupid as a Princess Bride. And nobody's disputed this, right? That Netanyahu said, amongst other things, that for him, that there's going to be no two-state solution as long as Hamas was in power. And so, this guy didn't dispute that. He just left that hanging. And so if that's the case, then they have no gripe about what happened, because this is a Netanyahu problem. Even if they didn't order Hamas to do this, which I believe they did, if Hamas just did this, they're propping them up, right? And, Hamas doing this destroyed the Gaza Strip. They went in and they blew up every fucking building. They demolished every fucking building in the region and killed, between 20 and 300,000 kids. Depending on the numbers and these things. And this clown over here, Israel responds to terrorism by warring with the government of Hamas in Gaza. In process, less than 4% of the Gazan population dies and calls it a genocide. They destroyed every one of their houses and deprived them of natural resources, and they basically have colonized that area. Israel controls the land the size of New Jersey, and they are called colonizers. Arabs control 36 countries, and they are called victims. Arabs call themselves by the Greek name Palestine, and they are called indigenous. Jews call themselves by the Semitic Hebrew name Israel, and they are called foreigners. Wow, it's just so unfair. Fucking Jon Stewart, you big old meanie. What's this logic? When you see something like this happening, or has happened, or is in the process of happening, what happened with October 7th and then the actions afterwards, just like with 9/11. You first have to see who benefits, right? So in the case of 9/11, for example, in the case of October 7th, there were a bunch of people who wanted to go do what was eventually done. They wanted to go with war with the Middle East. There's a lot of things going on. 7 to 14 billion, was it, dollars disappeared from the Pentagon on 9/10, and then 9/11 happened, right? Which, there's people like Dick Cheney, who his company, he made $80 million from those wars. $80 million. Former vice president, former senator, former, secretary of defense, and he worked for this company called Halliburton. And so there are people who wanted what happened after 9/11, America's military action, to happen. The military-industrial complex, the neocons, Israel, various other countries, right? There are people who wanted what happened in Gaza to happen, and it wasn't the Palestinians. How are the Palestinians doing? Hamas must really hate the Palestinians because they keep on fucking them over. They keep on doing things to Israel, then Israel does things to the Palestinian people, and Israel gets what it wants, and the Palestinian people lose what they have, what little they have, right, in Gaza and other places. So, why would Hamas do that? Why would Hamas do something? Like I say this about Iran. Why would Iran use a nuclear weapon if they know that they're going to get obliterated? If Iran used a nuclear weapon, there'd be no Iran. If Iran bombed Israel or any other country, America would immediately obliterate Iran and 110 million people and the whole fucking country. They'd turn it to fucking glass, right? Iran would be glassed. So why would they do that? They just hate so much that they don't have any, personal desire for survival. But then you say they hide behind children. Like, which is it? Are they people who have no regard for life, their own included? Their own people, themselves, their own people, and other people? They don't care about whether they live or die? Or are they people that so fucking cowardly they hide behind children? Which is the thing? Because they constantly do things to put themselves in danger, where they're bombed and droned and attacked. These leaders have to live in places where they're hiding all the time. Because, unless they have some kind of deal with the people. But you have to look at like who benefits from something and who wants something to happen. And Israel has always wanted to grab onto the Gaza Strip, and it's the promised land. And so the whole thing is fucking silly, right? They want the promised land. Everyone can fucking see it. It's been on my toolbar for a while.
Hello all. Senator Kennedy, Administrator Ingalls. I'm Donna Rohr, T.J. Hoover's sister. I was there. I saw what happened to my brother. They prepared to recover his organs while he was still alive. During that honor walk, his eyes were open. He was tracking me, and they told me it was just reflexes. Then during the heart cath, he was thrashing, crying, and grabbing the doctor's hands to stop him. Even after those signs, the organ procurement process continued until the physician refused to proceed. One of the organization's own coordinators called the home office after the doctor refused. She was told, "Find another surgeon or you'll lose your job because we're finishing this case." My brother almost died that day. That should never happen to anyone. Laws and standards were clearly violated. Those responsible must be held accountable.
All right, so, organ harvesting, it's a big thing. There was these guys, remember, they were like rabbis or something doing it in New York, but they're not the only ones. I don't tell people what to do, obviously, but I'm not an organ donor because, I'm not. But even that, I'm old, so like my organs aren't worth shit. But if you're a young person, like you can be like going there for a minor surgery. The next thing you know, oh, there's an accident. My wife and I were talking about this. There's between 250,000 and 750,000 medical deaths, but that doesn't include all the, medical accidents or malpractice. But there's so many medical deaths that aren't even called into question, or things that happen where someone dies from a side effect of a drug they're taking and it's never investigated or something like that. And so there's probably millions of medical deaths a year. And some of those medical deaths are due to organ harvesting because organs are worth a fucking shit ton. And you're a young person, you got like prime organs. And and you're just some goy there sitting there and they're like, hey, take their organs, right? So there's that. So a few people posted this. One of them was Benjamin J. Shapiro. Netanyahu rejects Trump's Gaza plan. No withdrawal until Hamas gives up all weaponry. Hamas, who you're paying, right? Like, why would Hamas not do that? Why would Hamas not surrender at this point? They've destroyed every building. There's people there could never have any kind of modern day life. Just misery and suffering. So many kids have died. Yet they're going to block. It's lost. Why would they do the thing in the first place if this thing happened, right? It's silly. Only if they worked for Israel and they were Netanyahu's puppet, controlled opposition. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet on Sunday that Israel rejects President Trump's 15-point plan for Gaza. See, again, why aren't you? You're a Trump guy, right? Why aren't you backing Trump on this? He said that Israel military will not pull back a single step until Hamas is stripped of every weapon it holds, according to Reuters. Israel does not accept the 15-point document, Netanyahu said at the start of the meeting. The military will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. It means heavy weaponry, lighter weaponry, and all weaponry. Hamas doesn't have, I don't know what this is here. I guess these are different stories. The Palestinian people do not have an army. They don't have an air force. They don't have any planes. They don't have any military equipment. They don't have any tanks. That's why they're throwing rocks. They're like throwing fucking rocks, right? And so, there's no situation where they're going to go after Israel. Like, if you don't have a military, what Israel wants your land, and they've taken more and more chunks of it, and you don't have any support. You don't have support from America. You don't have anybody backing you. You don't have a deal with Russia or China. You don't have some kind of, you don't have the number one military in the world, and you're not even a recognized country, which Israel is. You have nothing. You can't go up against them. You're throwing rocks, and you think that they want, they're going to put Hamas in there to make things worse for themselves. It's just a silly idea. Fucking, This keeps on coming up. You know, I don't know if Trump is sleeping or sometimes he just closes his eyes for a little bit. You know, like, yeah, I mean, compared to what Joe Biden was doing, it's not great. And, you know, Trump's always already going crazy. But this girl who looks like she just came out of she's a stewardess on a Pan Am, Airlines, and watch her swaying back and forth.
Number of diseases universally recommended for vaccines from 17 to 11.
Like, why is she swaying back and forth like that?
Establishing distinct categories of recommendations based upon the scientific evidence. Our assessment found that.
I mean, Trump's fucking sleeping away. She's like, there's a show called Laugh-In, where they did a bunch of hippie fucking dances and weird jokes. It was a weird fucking show. She looks like a laughing girl, you know. They would. It was like Hee Haw, but like before Hee Haw. Weird, like kind of variety show. I can't even describe it. Britney Spears copyrighted my clip of her, so that's done. But like this, they used to have these like hippie dance parties. Look at him gawking at this girl. That might be Goldie Hawn. She was on the show.
Hey, how would you like to come up to my place for the evening?
Promise you'll be good?
Good, I'll be magnificent.
And so the whole party would stop, and they do really shitty jokes. And that girl is dressed like she'd be on Laugh-In, right? There's Goldie Hawn.
We spent $35 million on the space program. Now, some people say we should have given it to the poor.
Oh, now what do the poor know about running a space program?
Okay, so that's that was the group called the Monkeys. They were a manufactured group. I think this is Goldie Hawn. Oh, here's this guy. I mean, just fucking weird as shit. All right, so that's Laugh-In. I looked that up on YouTube, and I come back to fucking Twitter.
How they want the vaccines given to
Look at this girl. They got a close-up of her. Fuck is wrong with her, right? What's she do? Like, fucking look at those eyes. It's not even like a real person.
We shouldn't be keeping kids out of school because they have made.
Holy shit! Like, fucking what a disaster.
Don't do that. A lot of the
like fucking I mean, is this some MK Ultra beta kitten or some shit, or some fucking cyborg, or is that a robot? They're rolling out these robots now.
The COVID vaccine and so many other things.
What the fuck is going on? That's just not like that's not okay, right? Are you okay? Are you safe? You know, blink 3 times if you're being held captive. Like, holy shit. I'm having trouble. I mean, I finished my videos a day before. This video is going to be done by dinner time tonight, and then it won't be up till 9 p.m. tomorrow. So technically, I could do it tomorrow. I want to finish up a journey series. But, you know, I've been struggling here the last couple of days. I don't know if it's the naps. The rain didn't help today, although I'd be outside a lot more. I didn't do anything outside today. But anyways, so that girl, you know, you think about Trump has fallen asleep again. And kind of, you know, in a weirder way. And then Kennedy's getting up with his weird-ass voice talking about vaccines and whatever the fuck he's doing. And she's the weirdest thing on the stage. Like, that's really fucked up. So Tucker Carlson had Hunter Biden on. And I guess they used to hang out or knew each other. You know, Hunter Biden wrote a recommendation letter for Tucker's daughter or something, and then I think he threatened to want to fight Tucker at some point. But now they've made up, and they've, you know, they're butt buddies again. They're crack buddies. And you know, Hunter Biden, there was a line, or you know, a little short video that came out that said Hunter Biden is attributing the laptop from Israel, and you know, the laptop from hell. And what Hunter Biden said was, he never brought his computer over to that guy's, you know, that Freemasonic Scottish guy who's legally blind store. And the guy never said that he saw Hunter Biden. He never recognized him. And there's no video footage of Hunter Biden. This is according to Hunter Biden. You know, but he said he never dropped off a laptop. He had a hard drive, you know, like an external hard drive. And, you know, there was limited amount of information on it. And he didn't dispute that the information they found all the crack files, all the weird shit that Hunter Biden was doing. The laptop from hell, as Trump called it. When, of course, Trump saw a lot more hell with Jeffrey Epstein. But anyways, Hunter Biden said they hacked his cloud. And then the Russians, GRU, and the Russian Ukrainians, and Israel, Mossad were all involved. And he didn't know exactly who hacked it or who was there. There's a bidding war and a whole bunch of shit went on. And so, I believe that to be more accurate story. Of course, he was still smoking crack and doing all that weird shit, but now, So, a couple great comments. This one, nice show, Paul, but do you lick sniz? I saw this last night. It made me crack up then and maybe that. Now, I have no idea what sniz is, but it's a funny word. I'm a little bit afraid to look it up. I didn't ban the person, although it's clearly a bannable offense. How dare he suggest that I lick sniz? Again, not knowing what sniz is, I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's because he says, nice show, Paul, but do you lick sniz? I'm going to go ahead and look it up just for, what's, well, here's another comment. The earth is flat. Eric Dubai just did a video on the whole government documents that state flat, non-moving earth. Oh, Eric Dubai did? Oh, that's great. They must be flat. That fucking guy. He rocks. I mean, Jesus Christ, you fucking give up on this shit already? I mean, even if you want to believe it's flat, just stop trying to tell people it's flat. That's, or just hang out with your own fucked up group and just keep it to yourselves. Like, just don't go to people's videos and do this shit. Like, it just, I mean, it's not, I'm against flat earth. I'm against flat earthers as a group, as a personality type. Like, it's a total buzzkill. You guys stop fucking, all right. Let's look up sniz. Yeah, I don't think it's good for me. I don't think I'll be talking about sniz here. It seems to be another word for vagina. And so, very odd comment, but funny. Sniz is a funny word. And so, and I only heard it just yesterday. All right, let me see if there's any more comments, and I'll wrap this thing up. Okay, so somebody wrote Eric Trump saying, I am a good boy. I'm a good boy. That meme I had. In the same tone of voice as Hilaria Baldwin saying, I am a white girl. I am a white girl. Remember the whole thing? And so I have both of those memes. I'm just too lazy to put them together, but I think that's probably right, what the person said. Yeah, there's a great quote I had from Teller of Penn and Teller. And someone wrote, I've studied the art of magic and illusion for 37 years, pretty much my whole life. Yes, I confirm that magic and illusion take many hours of repetitive practice to make, for example. A coin disappear from the left hand. More work than most realize. Great talk, Paul. Thanks for all you do. Yeah, and all those tricks. I mean, you see these people do crazy shit like Cirque du Soleil. I mean, I taught myself how to juggle. Like I think around 7 to 10 years old. And I'm watching people juggle, and I walked up to the TV, like, we had this TV area. We had like a black and white TV and then a colored television, no remote control for years. And, I walked up to the TV, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I see a pattern. You throw the ball, you throw one ball up in the air, and then you throw the other ball underneath that ball, and you move your hand back to catch that ball, and you keep on doing that with either hand. And so it's just a pattern, a very easy pattern. I have dyslexia, so I have pattern recognition. And once I saw the pattern, I just did it all day. I got 3 tennis balls, and I just for like 2 or 3 hours, and then I was juggling by the end of the day, right? And I was able to juggle 4 balls, I think, for a while, and I was able to put a ball behind my back, and like I could juggle off a wall, like use a wall to juggle. All doing the same pattern. I don't know if I could do 4 balls. I don't think that maybe, I don't know. Don't remember. But then, at some point that was it, right? And I can still do it. It just takes a little practice to start doing it again. But, there's people who do crazy fucking juggling. And, it's just a matter of going into it deeper. Like at some point you're like, all right, that's enough. I stopped it. And I was bored. I would do shit, whatever it might be. Like there's crazy shit that, my son learned how to do a Rubik's Cube in like 10 to 11 seconds was his record. And, he could do origami and shit like that. He had, this kind of ability, but was, more diligent. He learned some of those other things. And yo-yos, he got into yo-yos for a while. And like could do all kinds of shit. And, then he taught, at some point you just, some people just keep on going further and further, like Guinness record shit. But people can do crazy stuff, but it takes a shit time of time and energy. And most times it's like, yeah, that's kind of, how long have you been doing that? Like you can learn to do other people's voices and, imitations. It's just a matter of practice. If you're willing to practice, you can get great at something, even if you don't have a lot of talent, right? It's just putting in the money. So, there's that. Okay, so this looks like a real gem of a comment. Don't kid yourself. Trump is not going to just fade away. Turning point, U.S. gay. Remember, they didn't say gay. That's my thing. There's no turning back now. The Antichrist will go away because he will be thrown into the lake of fire among those who worship Satan and reject the Messiah, Yahshua. I just read, don't kid yourself. Trump is not going to fade away. And I decided this would be a worthy comment. And anything that involves the lake of fire and worshiping Satan and the Messiah, Yahshua, you have my attention. I never knew you depart from me. The wicked were created by the day of evil, i.e. destruction. Yeah, they will fade away, all right, but not in the way that you're talking about. Yeah, I'm not a crazy fuck. All right, so then a person comes in, Revelation 14:9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark on his forehead or or in his hand. All books like this can do prophecies. Like the prophecies that are done in the Sajmarg Whispers of the Brighter World are very specific. And they already got one right where it said something would start, there'd be a catalyst, an upheaval that would start, and it was 25 years. It said it will start in 25 years from now. And I never thought it would be to the day. But to the day of when he said that was the day Trump started bombing Iran for the second time, this Iranian war. And I was like, well, that ain't good, right? Here's another one. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture in the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. But you can do these prophecies in these books, and it doesn't mean shit, right? Because eventually it'll happen. There'll be somebody that people go like, I wonder if that's the Antichrist. Because there's going to be people like that. I'm pretty sure Trump works for God. And he works for God because, they needed somebody to take down the system. I mean, the divine beings that, orchestrate the movement of this planet, right? And so there are people who are villains who are actually higher developed souls that play a divine part. I wanted to read some Whispers of the Brighter World. Let me see if there's any more comments here. Yeah, there's 2 comments back to back, positive ones. Seriously, my favorite new channel with some emojis I can't see. Please know, and that's the next comment, please know that what you say is not falling on deaf ears. Repetition is absolutely necessary. I can only speak for myself, but what you have to say about the spirituality is the only thing keeping me going. My gratitude is immense. So, 2 good comments there. And then somebody said, Ned Flanders screams with excitement when he spots purple drapes. Ha 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 ha. I guess I said something like that. I don't know. All right, there's some Whispers of the Brighter World, and I have a bunch up that I wanted to read. I'm just going to blow through them. Again, this is a French woman who channeled the second master, Assistant Babaji, and other higher developed souls, but 99% of the messages come from Babaji, who died in 1982. And she, had these channeled messages, like 20,000, the most that's ever happened on planet Earth. So here is the first one. Tuesday, April 17th, 2001, 8 a.m. Compassion is the driving force of our action. for our earthling brothers and sisters, as well as for the others on different planes of existence who are grappling with other problems of a different order from those of humans, but who deserve our attention. There is suffering, a lot of suffering. We cannot remain indifferent to this, relishing unutterable joy while unutterable. I'm not sure. I think that's unutterable joys while losing interest in our brothers and sisters wherever they may be. Compassion and love are one and the same. That which emanates from the heart, attentive to his and her fellow being humans, cannot but bring relief from misery. That which emanates from the heart, attentive to his or her fellow human beings, cannot but bring relief from misery, whether physical or moral. Other worlds are in the grip of intense moral suffering that is hard for you to imagine, as it is taking on such proportions. These beings are refined to such a point that everything affects them at the deepest levels of their existing structure, wherever they are. This definition means nothing to you, but what other image could we give you all? The more subtle the suffering, the more dreadful it is. In what circumstances and which places does it occur? We cannot go further into that subject now. Know only that the suffering doesn't belong only to this world, and that the developing compassion within yourselves is desirable approach. By maintaining it in your hearts, you contribute to the universal spiritual communion which comes to the aid of the worlds in distress. Babaji. Okay, so I ate dinner. This is a couple hours later. It's almost 8 o'clock. Kind of still rainy today. Crazy rain. We got like 4 inches of rain. Some kind of, I don't know. And, my wife and I started watching this Lockerbie, Scotland, Pan Am flight thing. I started watching it by myself, and I just wasn't into it. Then she had read something about it, so we took a look at it again. And we ended up fast-forwarding to the end because it was just so icky, mushy, like feel good, how people are taking care of each other, all this shit. They went through a variety of different suspects and ultimately blamed Libya, which, they convicted 2 guys from Libya. Spoiler alert. I mean, the show's horrible. The only kind of humorous thing, we fast forward to the end, and the Scottish judges and lawyers had those gay-ass English wigs, but they were a little bit different. They were kind of spiked up in the front. And I mean, how can you take any of those fucking guys seriously with those gay-ass little white wigs? So, but, Gaddafi was not about that kind of stuff. And, they tried to make him into some kind of monster in the way that they killed him. So there's all that. And then we were watching, I wanted to show my wife the show Clipped. We kind of fast-forwarded that, and then she was getting sleepy. And I turned on the DirecTV, and I was looking to see if there's anything I wanted to record. And CNN was on. And there was a story which you now have seen. I'm going to put it in the beginning of this video with the plane shit and how pathetic that was. Anyways, let's get back to these whispers of the brighter world here. So there's just always something going on with Trump. It's just moral depravity. But in terms of that last whispers, a lot of the whispers are just about like compassion and love and, higher developed qualities and sensitivity. I mean, 20,000 messages, that's the bulk of the messages. How to behave and how to, be more giving and loving and, patient and all these things. But there are things like in this one, he's talking about compassion. But then he says, people are suffering. Other creatures on other worlds are suffering like worse than you guys are. Because they went the wrong direction. And this is, a problem that's happened where, given the freedom of choice, bad choices are made, right? And beings go in the wrong direction. So this is Tuesday, April 17th, 2001, 10 a.m. By developing in yourselves what is good and just, you unite with the Creator. The path to perfection is long and difficult. We have alluded to this. Don't lose heart if you don't obtain results as quickly as you would like. Striving towards this goal is noble in itself. While advancing very steadily in your spiritual practice, you will feel that a change is taking place within you. It is deeper than it seems. You no longer react to events in the same way, and achievement seems natural to you. You know, it's just, that's the thing about Sajmark's system. A lot of it happens automatically, and you become like a better person. You might go through some shit, some cleaning, some difficulties in your life. You might feel some things, but there's no necessarily like fireworks spiritually where you have some epiphany. You just see more and you understand more, and you're more mature, and like you don't react the same way as you used to, and you can see it. You're more insightful into the the inner world of other people, and you feel more compassionate towards them, and like all these things. You cope better with unpleasant situations. They affect you less deeply. With time, this change is obvious, and you appreciate what you have become. It's just the beginning towards a long and enriching metamorphosis that will transform your life. Your well-being is felt very deeply, and you view the future with a new vision. This process has changed lives. Perseverance is rewarding. Every day you enjoy the fruits. You are all engaged in a long process that leads you to the highest peak, God willing. Your efforts and His grace can work wonders. Many of us have experienced this, and it's a big unfortunate thing that people don't, value it, like, because it's so subtle, right? And so people forget, like, what they were before. That's one of the reasons you're supposed to keep a diary. But you just work away. I talk about this, how I saw this show where this kid went to a Shaolin temple. He was in some village, and they chose him to be a plebe in the Shaolin temple. And he came in, he scrubbed toilets, and he did a bunch of work. And they had him, pounding sand with his hands. And he was doing this physical work every day. And he wasn't learning any kung fu. And he came back to the village because he quit. He left the Shaolin temple because he didn't think they were teaching him kung fu or anything. And everyone came around him. They were like, "Oh, what did you learn?" The whole village is like, he's like a celebrity now. And he's sitting in front of like a big butcher block table. And he slams his hands down on the table and says, "I'm a fraud. This is, I didn't learn anything." And the table cracks in half. And so he goes, "Oh, I guess there's something to this," and he goes back. And, that's a much more graphic and grosser version of what Babaji's describing here, where you have these changes, and it happens in a gentle, delicate way. And, there is some cleaning and things, but you start to just be different, and like people can see that you're different and changed and these things, but it's not, it's not a lot of drama, and like people don't value it like they should because of the, how subtle and easy it comes to you, which is sad. It's been a big problem. Thursday, April 19th, 2001, 8 a.m. Love attracts love. It is powerful, and its rays project into the infinite. Love will save the world. It will be the last resort. Beyond despair, it will remain a major asset. Believe in it. It is a redemptive power. The world is in a state of madness. There seems to be no stopping it. True values are scorned. Respect no longer prevails. Some small islands of peace and serenity remain. Apply yourself to protecting them. Keep confidence in the future. Our way is attacked without discernment in this country. She's talking about France, which no longer sees reason. How can one arrive at that? May your faith remain intact. It can be strengthened by ordeals. See how all the judgment is destructive. Ignorance, bad faith, rumor, slander. These are the plagues of the world. Judging without knowing, without understanding is the worst evil. This sort of manipulation leads to terrifying excesses. The past remains deeply marked by this. Criticizing one's brethren, their color, their race, their religion, their culture, there's nothing better to do on this earth. A time will come when surviving will be the only concern of earthlings, tossed around in the midst of calamities, all kinds that will rain down on the world and will bring them back to reality. God willing, wisdom will one day prevail among humans, finally making this earth a habitable place. Babaji. So that's pretty fucking self-explanatory. Sunday, April 22nd, 2001, 8 a.m. Always looks to the future, seeing it in a positive light whatever is happening in the present. History in general is made up of periods of crisis that occur in all aspects of life. The rule should apply in all circumstances. More often than not, people are overwhelmed by events they cannot control. They are carried away with like wisps of straw, having to resign themselves to enduring them. What can they do in the face of this great tragedies? They can emerge in their lives, death, cataclysm, social ills, any other personal ordeal. Take action when they can endure. Take action when they can endure it. Most of the time, but pray always. The reaction will help and inspire them on the behavior to adopt and reassure them. Meditating, facing themselves, and letting themselves be guided by inspiration will restore calm in them. They will be better able to seize the opportunities that arise and use them wisely. Do not fail to help your fellows, help your fellows in such situations. They must face adversity today. Tomorrow will perhaps be your turn. Try to be clear-headed, understanding, and effective by helping them in any way you can. It is happening. It has happened that in trying moments of your life you received unhoped for assistance and regard it as a blessing. Try therefore to remember that and act in accordance with your heart. Babaji. So this is another one here. Saturday, April 21st, 2001, 10 a.m. You can see once again coming from another source with this Christ-like message recorded in rather a special fashion, that love is a universal concept. It is a driving force of the world. Of a subtle and unique essence, it is untangible and despite that manifests in the whole creation. Having a glimpse of it in oneself is the most beautiful experience that a human being can have. The vibrations of this world are dense, heavy, and trying for us. We must go beyond this and come and manifest ourselves to you all. The reign of love will eventually be established on earth, but many vicissitudes will precede this golden age. Nothing is obtained easily. Life on earth since the mists of time has passed through multiple upheavals. Since the caveman, the spiritual state has evolved. The conditions has been refined and will continue to progress more and more to reach the sought-after level. This evolution is taking place slowly. Everything is planned and set up in advance. Continue on your way, since you belong to the chosen ones who have understood the logic and how they must conduct their lives here below. He's not talking about the chosen ones. He's talking about people who have, been chosen to do God's work, but really they do the choosing. You have made choices which require another pace of life, another way of organizing in order to give the deep aspirations of the soul its true place, to drink from the divine source. Be blessed in pursuit of this noble goal. Babaji. What was interesting about that one to me is he never talked about caveman. He's talked about the, test tubes, how human beings were created in test tubes, at least the ones that are here now. So I was interested that he used the phrase caveman there, that is, like both things could be true. All right, so let me wrap this one up here. I think there's, wait, maybe this is another one here. To Thursday, April 26, 2001, 8 a.m. The medium says, Babaji, let me serve you always more and better. And Babaji responds, you are serving my child. What more do you want? Be satisfied with the current status. Being of service in our way means primarily to do one's abhyas correctly. To work for yourselves is to work for the multitude. Abhyas is their spiritual practice, so that means meditate and clean and change yourself, and that helps everybody else. None of you should forget this principle, which perhaps does not seem obvious to you. All sacred texts more or less echo these comments. Formulated in another way, without dwelling on that and giving you complicated explanations that are not in line with the style of messages. We will simply say that all harmonious vibrations emanating from the heart in meditation, as well as the thought of love and all that elevate your thought benefit all your brothers and sisters, it is well established. Think of the multitude of beings who every day devote time to this practice and pray for the good of humanity. This egregore is powerful. It constitutes a force that neutralizes the effects of another force, one that is negative. That is how your sadhana elevates you all while contributing to a noble cause. You are each and every one beacons illuminating the darkness, like the stars in the stars in a dark sky. What could be more beautiful than this beautiful spectacle delighting the human heart? It reveals to the human heart the infinite grandeur of divine creation, Babaji. Egregore is, the title of my second book, which is basically done, and I'm not going to work on the third book, so it's pointless. The trilogy of books I was writing, but it's about how groups of people come together, and it could be a positive egregore or a negative one. But in this case, it's all these people who are resonating and connecting to divinity and elevating themselves and pulling up humanity with them to fight off the degradation that's on the other side. And that's like a Sajmarg's, principle to do it that way. All right, I think that's all of this. Let me see if this is Friday, April 27th, 2001. The true greatness of certain beings is not revealed to the world. The aim of their incarnation is not to be idolized. Each of the saints has a specific mission, which they accomplish according to the intended plan. Thus was the great Ramakrishna, who was important at one point in your life. She was one of his disciples in a past life. Human assessment on that aspect too is quite right, and it's better that way. Some mission people would be hampered in achievement of their work if they were recognized. Many go unnoticed. There is no shortage of examples in history. Let your heart be reassured they have enlightened the world in their own way, in silence and without publicity, while giving infinite love to humanity. Although their actions are lost in the memory of humanity, they are engraved forever in the memory of time. They have maintained the flame of They have maintained the flame that enlightens the world. They have taken it forward, even if the results are not perceptible. A big step has been taken towards awakening consciousness. Many beings have reached that level, free from the chains. Thus, very slowly, a new era is in the making. It will appear when the time comes. A great step will then be taken for humanity, which will radically change the course of its evolution. This is the goal to be reached. All will be fulfilled according to God's plan, Babaji. This idea that fame and even for spiritual beings that people know about is somehow important. And it just fucking isn't, right? And so, this is one of the key teachings. And, in reality, if you're doing spiritual work, you'd rather not have people, fucking dragging you down and worshiping you and burdening you and, all that stuff. Putting you on a pedestal and then, tearing you down and all the other things. Like the great saints, the lucky ones, come and do work in anonymity and don't really, people don't know about their work because it's not important for people to know. It's just important that, when you all of a sudden become a parent and you realize you have all these skills or you start a job, and next thing you know, you were overwhelmed when you came in and you maybe didn't think you were up to the task, but over a period of time you become a good parent or you become a good employee. There's things inside of you didn't know you had, and they get pulled out by your circumstances, and humanity and human beings can collectively move up to a higher level of consciousness, and they'll have these abilities. Just like when your brain develops and you understand things differently as an adult because of your capacity has increased because you now have an adult brain, you have an adult system and all these things. And so for people who come in and are higher developed souls, it's not necessary for them to famous and be celebrated because it doesn't matter. They come down, do your work, and it's much better when you don't have people taking up your time and diverting your consciousness and your energy. It's just it's a bad thing. Then you end up getting egotistical or annoyed or whatever. Instead, you can just work in silence and just, in anonymity, and it goes much smoother without anybody having to know about it because, them knowing about it isn't going to affect or contribute to the results. All right, good. This is a good way to wrap it up, and I got one more thing to add in the beginning. The aforementioned Trump and the plane thing. Where he hid in a fucking catering truck and all that bullshit. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount and definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.